I am going to go into First and 10, and you guys already know what's First and 10. We're talking The Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8 for that ass. So The Last Dance, they started off talking about Jordan after he won his third championship versus the Suns. And Jordan was talking about during that, or after they won, he said that him and his dad were the only ones that knew that he was kind of like checking out after that. He was done with basketball. And, Jordan, he just got sick of, I don't know if it was the media. He didn't really go into what exactly was the reason why, or maybe he lost love for the game. But a lot of people were saying that he looked like completely spent after that series. And obviously, Michael Jordan's dad was a focal point after that because he ended up passing away. And it was sickening to see. Obviously, I was young at the time, but it's sickening to see it now during the docuseries that a lot of the media were kind of trying to blame Michael Jordan for his father's death. They were trying to come up with this grand conspiracy theory as to Jordan being a gambler and, getting that gambling debt and, somehow that's tied to his father being murdered. Again, for someone that just had, lost his father to blame him for it, for something that might not have even had any connection with it, or likely had no connection with it, it was a little unfair for the media. But again, they're trying to sell stories. They're trying to sell, newspapers and everything like that during the time, at least. And, I just thought that was sick for them to even try to pull something like that. But Jordan always wanted to play baseball for his dad. He grew up playing baseball, and his father's death kind of was, I don't want to say an excuse, but it gave him a reason to kind of drop basketball and pursue baseball. I mean, he had already accomplished winning 3 championships with the Chicago Bulls, 3 in a row, one of 3 teams that did it at the time, and, just dropping everything and going to baseball. Now, we know Michael Jordan's very competitive, so whatever he decides to do at the time, he's going to put 100% of his energy towards doing that. So you best believe during the docuseries, they were showing Michael Jordan kind of, working out different. They were talking about how they were telling Michael Jordan, hey, this is different from basketball. You're going to have to work out differently. And, Michael Jordan's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do what it takes to be a baseball player. I'm 100% invested. And, I just want to be one of the guys. And that's exactly what Michael Jordan was doing. And they talked about Michael Jordan actually having a 13-game hitting streak. I think it was 13 or 12 games where he hit a ball in 13 straight games. That's really good, especially in AA. So he definitely started off with some, after the 12 straight games hitting, obviously some people were like, oh, well, maybe he'll be, just as good. But after that, pitchers started figuring him out, throwing him a lot of breaking balls, and Michael Jordan, again, you could say he was a novice at the time with baseball because majority of his career, his athletic career, was with basketball. So timing breaking balls and everything like that, he just wasn't used to it. And almost every time he went up to bat after those 12, 13 games, it was majority breaking balls towards Jordan. So Jordan, I mean, again, this is an accomplishment to hit 12, 13 straight games, in a row. So let's not, gloss over that like it was just nothing. But anyways, he ends up going back to basketball. Near the end of his time with baseball, he was going back to the Bulls practice facility, playing some of the players. And they also talked a lot about they showed a lot of Michael Jordan on how he motivates his teammates. And this happens to be a big focal point on the sports radios, sports talk shows, how he was motivating players and was it right or was it wrong. So this was one of those things that they talked about before the docuseries aired. Michael Jordan was a little afraid of how he would be portrayed and how this would affect his image after the docuseries came out. Obviously, Michael Jordan is able to see and approve any clips that are put in this docuseries that are now out, but he still wanted to show some, some of that realistic emotion that he had during that time. So one of the famous people that he was really getting on was Scott Burrell. And Michael Jordan stated before, they start showing what he was doing to Scott Burrell. Michael Jordan stated, hey, I always thought Scott was talented, but I just wanted to draw that fire out of him. And he also talked about, picking on him so much that he was trying to actually get Scott Burrell to fight him to show him that he had fire inside and had that competitive spirit. Now, some guys can have that drive, that competitive spirit without, fighting someone. And Michael Jordan, again, everybody has different leadership skills. Michael Jordan was one to always, kind of jump on your back. Michael Jordan was calling him a hoe. He was calling him a bitch. He was calling him all these things. And that's just on camera. We don't know what was happening, behind the scenes. Michael Jordan wants you to earn his respect. And Scott Burrell, during practice, he was just laying it to him. So if you guys watch that episode, I believe it was episode 7, Michael Jordan was all over him. And, I like that fire from Michael Jordan. I like that he was, trying to get somebody to play, above or to the talent he knows that they could play at, or to the level he knows that they could play at. But, some people, I could see how they, especially if they don't play sports, and even if you did play sports, you don't want somebody talking to you like that. But at the same time, again, leaders lead different ways. If you don't like how somebody's talking to you, then you address it, you check them, and put your foot down. Scott Burrell wasn't one of those guys. Not to say he was a punk, but he was getting punked by Michael Jordan. So it was an interesting moment. But Scottie Pippen also was a focal point, unfortunately, of this. And I had no idea about this. So after Michael Jordan retired, and sorry, I'm going back and forth. And this is how the docuseries works, is that, they're jumping in between the timelines. So I'm taking notes as I'm watching it. But Scottie Pippen, once Michael Jordan retired and went to baseball, Scottie Pippen was the guy. He was the guy that was supposed to take over. Since he was number 2 or number 1B when Michael Jordan was there, well, he was number 2, not 1B. Michael Jordan's 1, Scottie Pippen was 2. So since he was number 2 when Michael Jordan was there, when Michael Jordan retired, Scottie Pippen became the number 1 guy. He was the guy. His play went up. He was, some people thought he should have been league MVP that year, and they still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, Scottie Pippen was upset during this. He caught a lot of fire on this because during the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 3, I believe it was versus the Knicks, they were down. There was little time on the clock left, and they had one more time. They had time for one more shot to kind of take the lead. So Scottie Pippen, being the guy, because Michael Jordan was the guy before that, Scottie Pippen, rightfully so, is like, okay, cool. As Phil Jackson's drawing this play up, just tell me where to stand, tell me where I get the pass, and tell me where I shoot. Phil Jackson tells Scottie Pippen, you're inbounding the ball. So as the number 1 guy for the team, Scottie Pippen's like, what the hell is going on? I'm the guy. I'm taking the shot. But he was told to inbound it, and that Tony Kukoc would take the last shot. Now, Tony Kukoc was getting paid more than Scottie Pippen at the time. Hadn't done anything in the NBA. Again, Scottie Pippen, we talked about Scottie Pippen's contract, I believe, in episode 1-2 review. So if you haven't seen that review, I will leave it right here on YouTube. So check that out right there. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, rewind a couple of podcasts and listen to that. Scottie Pippen, his contract was a mess. And not only was he underpaid, but there was other guys on the team that hadn't, done anything that are getting paid more than him. So Scottie Pippen ends up telling, Phil Jackson, I'm not going back in. And the team's like, oh, what the hell's how are you not going back in? We understand that you're pissed because you're not taking the last shot, but how are you just going to sit down on the bench and just not go in? We need you. This is the Eastern Conference Finals. We're trying to get to the finals. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan said that, Scottie Pippen will forever regret that, but Scottie Pippen did state in the docu-series that he would have done it again. He wouldn't have changed anything. And I think that's Scottie Pippen just, I don't know if he's being stubborn or if he really believes that, hey, if they did that again, I still wouldn't do it because I was the guy. And I could definitely understand that. Whatever Scottie Pippen decided at that time he felt was right. On the outside looking in, I was like, dude, like, even if it's a bad play, you're in the Eastern Conference. This is not like a regular season game. This is not like a preseason game. This is Eastern Conference Finals. You know, it is game 3, but at the same time, you're trying to get to the finals. And, you know, quitting on your team like that, I can see how the team was like, dude, I'm not trusting this guy again. The hell is that? I want guys that are ready to go in even when the ball is not coming to them. Now, the question is, will Michael Jordan accept that? No, he's not. Michael Jordan will say, okay, Phil, get the team together and say, hey, look, I don't care what the hell he said. You give me the ball and I'm going to take the last shot. That's how competitive I think Michael Jordan is. Scottie Pippen was just, he wasn't very vocal, at least, you know, publicly. It didn't look like he was that vocal of a guy. He was kind of like a silent leader. You guys had to follow, you know, I lead by example, not by what I say. So he was definitely night and day from Michael Jordan, which is, you know, not a bad thing. Michael Jordan's, you know, the best to ever do it. So, you know, again, Scottie Pippen was catching a lot of heat for that. And again, rightfully so, however you're looking at it. But this kind of brings it up to, again, going back to Michael Jordan's leading style. Again, he caught a lot of flack for what he was saying to other players, how he tried to motivate other players. Other players knew that Michael Jordan was how he was as far as a leader and knew that he was trying to earn people's respect, even though it, you know, to some degree, people felt like disrespected. And Michael Jordan, this was probably the most powerful part of episode 7, was talking about, you know, how much he loves the game and how much he's willing to do to win. He's doing everything he can to win the game no matter what, under any cost. He's trying to win the game. So if he has to, you know, insult you to so you can hate him to play better so you can get off your back, he was willing to take that chance. And, you know, Michael Jordan, this is a quote. So Michael Jordan said, let me paraphrase this. So he said he never asked anyone to do anything that he didn't fucking do. And I believe him. If he didn't, he said he didn't ask anybody to do something that he didn't do. And I added the expletive because that was part of his sentence. It's part of the paraphrasing too. So if you guys caught that. But anyways, he also talked about winning comes at a great cost and so does leadership. And again, Michael Jordan was willing to be that bad guy to push his team up. He wanted everybody to be as fiery, as competitive as he was. He wanted everybody to feel that anger when there was a loss. But he also wanted people to feel more wins than anything. He was just motivating people. And again, his motivation could come off as bad to some of those, you know, to some people that are watching it. But again, it was what it was. He won 6 championships for a reason. So he was doing something right. Obviously, there were players out there like Magic, Bird. They had different leadership styles. Michael Jordan, you know, they weren't exactly like Michael Jordan. They weren't doing what Michael Jordan was doing, but Michael Jordan found his leadership style. People probably didn't like it, but they were still winning. So, you know, again, props to Michael Jordan. It was a very emotional interview, and you could tell that he is all about basketball. He's 100% committed to basketball and winning. Even to this day, he was tearing up. He had to take a pause after he was saying that. You know, if you don't want to play this game, if you don't want to win like I want to win, then you shouldn't play. That's what he was saying. So everything to Michael Jordan's a competition. And he definitely remembered all. They talked about his back and forth with Bradford Smith, where Michael Jordan basically, in his mind, heard Bradford Smith say, "Nice game, Mike," after he dropped 37 on the Bulls. Unfortunately for him and his team, they played a back-to-back with the Bulls. So that next day they played the Bulls again, And before the game, Mike said, I'm going to drop what this kid dropped the last game in the first half. So Bradford Smith scored 37 on the Bulls for the game. And in this game, the back-to-back, Michael Jordan scored 36 in the first half. 36 in the first half. I mean, it was funny watching all these clips of Michael Jordan watching the news, kind of like getting pissed off, he wasn't trying to find motivation, but he knew that if he was to watch the news, he would get motivation. So they showed clips of him watching the news. They showed clips of him reading the newspaper, kind of surfing through, looking for a story that was mentioning him or something someone said. It was crazy. And then you go into the series when he was back. I believe it was his first year back from baseball. They play the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe. And it was an eye opener for Michael Jordan. He came back wearing the number 45 to honor his dad. He also wore 45 when he was playing baseball. So he came back, wore 45, and I believe they ended up losing. And one of the players was saying 45 is not like 23. So I believe Michael Jordan mid-series, I don't know if you can do that now, but mid-series changed his jersey from 45 to 23 and lit them up the next game. So this was crazy because the Magic had, Penny Hardaway, they had Shaquille O'Neal, they just got Horace Grant on a big deal, who used to play for the Bulls and was part of that Bulls run for the 3 championships. It was crazy to see that he was able to just change number one, change his jersey from 45 to 23 mid-season. But also seeing kind of like that competition, because I was able to see, I believe it was a 30 for 30 where they talked about the Magic and Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway. That was a good 30 for 30, and they went pretty detailed in on that series with the Bulls. And I believe the Magic ended up losing in the finals that year after they beat the Bulls. That following year, the Bulls met the Magic again. To everyone's surprise, Michael Jordan during the offseason was training specifically for the Magic. They come back, hit them, exactly how they did the bad boy Pistons. They swept them the next time they seen them in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan said, hey, if people are going to pay or watch me, then it's my obligation not to let them down. That's powerful stuff. People are paying money to sit in those seats. They're paying money to have cable, and they're paying their time to watch Michael Jordan. I mean, don't get me wrong. Majority of the people that were watching you get me wrong. Majority of the people that are watching the Bulls were watching for Michael Jordan at that time. So Michael Jordan knew that, and he wanted to give them a show, and he wanted to make it worth it. So he said, hey, if they're going to pay, if they're going to watch me, then it's my obligation not to let them down, because they're watching me to see greatness, basically. So that was crazy, man. They also talked about Michael Jordan filming of Space Jam, and Warner Brothers hooked up Michael Jordan. I mean, they did whatever he wanted. So Michael Jordan, I believe this was in between time before going against right after they had lost to the Magic, he was going straight into workout. They were filming Space Jam, and they asked Michael Jordan what he needed. He said, I need a basketball court and I need a gym. So they built Michael Jordan they built him his own separate court, a full court, and a gym right on the lot, the same lot of Warner Brothers. So Michael Jordan was having NBA players, because there was NBA players, in Space Jam, but also had NBA players that lived in the area were coming to play pickup games, in between Michael Jordan's shooting time. So he has 7 a.m. shooting time. He's up, all the way till like 10 o'clock playing basketball. And then after at 10 p.m., they were saying he was working out. I mean, this guy is a machine. This guy, again, this is Michael Jordan's dedication to basketball. I think if there's anything that you take out of it, you take that Michael Jordan was doing whatever he could to win and, to be the best. And it was his actions. He wasn't saying anything. The guy was the last thing people want to do when shooting a movie, especially, you're putting in a lot of hours shooting a movie, is work out and, play pickup games in between your scenes. And, in his 2-hour breaks, again, he's hitting the gym, he's hitting that iron. He's hitting that iron before he's dunking on the Monstars. So again, Michael Jordan, I mean, it was crazy. So, whew, I mean, that was insane. For whatever reason, I feel like these were my next 2 favorite episodes. Last week I said those were my favorite episodes. These are my favorite episodes now. It seems like they just keep getting better and better, and I'm definitely gonna watch this a few times. Once the season ends, next week is the finale for 9 and 10. I will definitely watch this series a few more times because it is that good. So if you all are not watching it, number one, I apologize for all the spoilers. You should have jumped off already. But number two, get ESPN Plus and stream it. ESPN Plus is like $5. ESPN Plus, I'm putting your stuff out there, so throw your boy a bone. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so yeah, the season after losing to the Magic, they went again against the Magic in the playoffs. And the following year, swept them, and then they ended out episode 8 with the biggest. So some of the media was talking about the biggest mismatch in NBA history. So after they beat the Magic, they went to the NBA Finals and played the Seattle Supersonics with Gary Payton. My boy Gary Payton. I've met Gary Payton before over here in Scottsdale. Cool dude. But this was labeled as the biggest mismatch in NBA history. And I believe this was the year that they broke the record for winning. So, again, another feat by the Bulls. So one of the stories that came out of this was, I believe Michael Jordan was at a restaurant, and George Karl, who was the head coach at the time of the Seattle Supersonics, seen Michael Jordan and pretty much walked by him without saying anything. And Michael Jordan said, "Oh, it's like that? Okay." And he said that's all he needed. That's all the motivation he needed. So immediately after that, the series started, and Seattle Supersonics went down 3-0. They're about to get swept. And Gary Payton's like, yo, I'm not, because at the time, Gary Payton was not guarding Michael Jordan. Gary Payton was the defensive player of the year that year in the NBA. Gary Payton told George Karl, look, all this other BS, like this fool Michael Jordan's whooping our ass. I'm the defensive player of the year. I'm taking Michael Jordan. And I think they took the Bulls 6 games after that. So they won 2 games in a row to make it a series. But the Supersonics could have got swept, but they had more heart than that. They won a couple games just to not get the sweep or the gentleman's sweep. And, I give them some respect for that. They showed Michael Jordan watching Gary Payton's interview where Gary Payton was basically saying, hey, if I guarded Michael Jordan from the beginning of the series, it might have been a different series. Michael Jordan was watching this and laughing the whole time. The whole time he was laughing. It was so disrespectful. It was really bad, you guys. I mean, you got to watch that. And then to top it all off, this was the championship that they won on Father's Day. Again, this is Michael Jordan's first championship while being back after, playing baseball, after losing his father. He won his 4th championship on Father's Day. So it was very sentimental to him. And, they showed clips of Michael Jordan crying on the ground. You could tell that he was definitely hurt. He was very, very emotional. Again, it was Father's Day. So, how could you not be, emotional, especially after you lose your father like that? So, again, that was The Last Dance. If you guys have not seen it, again, ESPN Plus, check that out. Check it out. Or take somebody's login information, just not mine.